Hello and welcome to this week's Force.comcast episode on using the final keyword on method parameters. So I was chatting with a friend of mine, John Daniel, John D the Maven on Twitter, whose Twitter handle you can see at the top here, the other day, and we were looking at some code together, and I noticed that he'd prefixed some of his method parameters with the final keyword. So being a nosy type, I asked him why he was doing so, and John is a former Java developer and told me that when working with Java, it has been reported or is thought that having the final keyword there can improve performance when passing parameters through that aren't going to be changed in the method. And as Apex is Java effectively in the background, he thought it might be the same sort of idea, and so he was doing it as a good practice. He did, however, state that he wasn't sure whether it did make any difference, so suggested I have a look at it for one of these videos. So this is what we're going to do today. So what we've got is a simple class here called memory test, and we have a static method do something that takes in a final integer value called val, and all we're going to do is output the heap size. So the idea, which you can read about if you just search Java final parameters memory performance, is that by having the parameter that's passed in as a final parameter, it'll improve the memory allocation through the JVM, and it'll mean that you have less memory overhead, and so your code will be more performant. And obviously if you're doing this on a larger scale, it'll be far more performant. So if you hit execute on this method, where all we're doing is passing in integer here 1, 2, 3, 4, then what will happen is it will go away and we get just a heap size of 1084 as our benchmark. So with the final keyword, the heap size comes out as 1084 for us. So if we now go in and remove the final keyword, and we'll just record benchmark final is 1084. So we'll save that up in the background. And what we'll do is we'll reload up the window. It's finished saving. And now when we do the same thing without the final keyword, system will go away and we see that the heap size is exactly the same. So when we're doing it with primitive data types, it doesn't seem to make any difference. And so this got me wondering whether it does make any difference and whether things are being passed around. And it turns out it used to matter, or was purported to matter in Java when you're passing things by reference. However, it does seem to be one of these urban myths around memory allocation. And you can go away and Google it and read many interesting conversations and discussions on internet forums about it. But the fact is, Apex doesn't pass anything by reference, everything is passed by value. And as such, having the final keyword in there won't make any difference in terms of memory allocation. What it does do, however, is provides us some extra functionality that just makes our code a little bit cleaner if we want to look at it that way. So I'm just going to add in this line of code that allows us to set the value of val to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we've not got the final keyword here, so the final keyword tells us that the value for the variable has been set and we can't change it, we can't edit it, or in the case of a method, we can't override it. So when we run this without the final keyword, it will go away in the background and it'll run fine. It will allow us to reallocate the value. If, however, we're working with a method parameter which isn't set and isn't finalized, so it should be possible to change, then we might want to be able to edit this. We might want to be able to restrict this. And using the final keyword can provide a convenient way of doing that. So we've saved up that fact, and now when we run this method, it'll go away and it'll fail for us. So you can see here I've got a failure, which is a final exception. The variable has already been initialized. I can't reassign it. I can't change it. So although it might be that the final keyword doesn't really have any memory performance implications, so it doesn't make it make the memory footprint any smaller, and doesn't help us out from that side of things. It is, however, a fairly good practice that I was unaware about, so that if you are having something like an API or providing methods that you want people to be able to utilize but don't want to allow the internal implementation to change items for, you can mark them as final. So this just makes it, it's a nice way of really marking up your code so that if you want to see at a glance what a method might be doing with the parameters, you can see whether it's going to be editing them or not.